Welcome back to the second part of C1 Topic 1, the Earth's atmosphere today. The learning objectives of the lesson are: describe the composition of the Earth's atmosphere, explain why the Earth's atmosphere is still changing, and suggest how you could investigate the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. Take a moment to use the solar taxonomy to assess what your knowledge is at the moment, so that you can see how much progress you've made by the end of the lesson. Okay, our first objective is to be able to describe the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. Well, air is a mixture of the following gases: 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 0.9% argon, and other trace gases, including 0.037% carbon dioxide. And that is our first objective complete. We're going to move to our third objective. How could you investigate the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere? And the first is going to be a demonstration you'll see in my lesson. I have a candle floating in a trough of water covered by a bell jar. I want you to predict what will happen to the candle and why, and also think about what will happen to the level of the water and be able to explain why. Pause the video and have a think about it. Okay, welcome back. Well, you may have realised that the candle will go out and maybe be able to explain why, because the flame requires oxygen and the oxygen is used up. But were you able to predict what would happen to the level of the water and explain why? Well, the water will rise inside the container as the oxygen is being used up. As the oxygen is used up, the water takes place of the oxygen. So the water will rise up 21% of the jar if all of the oxygen is used up. Okay, let's see if you can explain that. Here is a past paper question. It's 3 marks, so you need to make at least 3 points. Pause the video now. Okay, welcome back. Your explanation needs to link 3 of the 4 points. The water level rose because burning uses oxygen. Water takes place of oxygen, and you should have said that the water will rise approximately 1/5 up, or 21%. Now I'm going to introduce you to a lab that you're going to do in my lesson. It's to determine the percentage of oxygen in air using iron wool. You will soak iron wool in vinegar to activate it. Vinegar is an irritant, and therefore you will be required to wear goggles. You will then place the iron wool in a boiling tube, which you will turn upside down and place it into a beaker of water. You will then record the height of the bubble every 5 minutes for 40 minutes. You will record observations, and at the end of the experiment you will be able to make a calculation of the percentage of oxygen in the air. You can make a prediction now. What percentage of air do you think will be oxygen? And lastly, I will show you another demonstration where I will heat copper and pass air using 2 gas syringes over the copper. As the process occurs, the oxygen is used up and the amount of air in the syringes will go down. And you will need to be able to describe this process. I will push and pull the syringes to move the air. The volume of air will decrease as oxygen is used up, as the copper reacts with the oxygen, forming copper oxide, until all of the oxygen is used up and there will be no further change. I will need to allow the apparatus to cool, because gas syringes only accurately measure volumes at room temperature, and then I'll be able to work out the final reading of the syringe, which should be about 79 because 21% of the oxygen was used up. Okay, so you should now be able to suggest a way for investigating the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. Our final objective is to explain why the Earth's atmosphere is still changing. As we said, the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere is 21%, the amount of nitrogen is 78%, the amount of argon is 0.9, and carbon dioxide is 0.037, but it does change. As you can see, from 1880 to current day, the amount of carbon dioxide has increased. What's happened to temperature? You're right, the temperature has increased as well. We call this theory global warming, or the greenhouse effect. But what are natural causes of changes to the atmosphere? That's right, volcanoes. We assume that volcanoes release CO2 and steam to form the Earth's earliest atmosphere because volcanoes still do this today. So volcanoes are still changing the Earth's atmosphere. But what are the man-made changes to the atmosphere? Pause the video and have a think. Okay, welcome back. There are 4 major changes. The first one is cars. Vehicles use fuels. We burn those fuels, we release carbon dioxide and water vapour. Power stations. Power stations that burn fossil fuels, such as coal, gas and oil, also release large amounts of carbon dioxide, water vapour. Deforestation. When people cut down trees and burn them, there is a double effect. Firstly, the trees used to take in carbon dioxide are now removed, and they generally burn the wood to clear the area quickly and return nutrients to the soil. And why do they do this? Well, lastly, farmland. And the animals that live on those farmlands also release gases such as methane. The annual world greenhouse gas emissions in 2005 was as follows, and as you can see, about a quarter of it is burning fossil fuels for heat and electricity, then 15% transportation, and agriculture is approximately another 14%. Here's an exam question asking you to link the amount of CO2 to global temperatures. Explain whether these graphs provide evidence for human activity causing Earth's temperature to rise. Pause the video now. Here's 3 marks. Okay, welcome back. They awarded 1 mark for saying that the concentration of carbon dioxide increases. They award a 2nd mark for saying that the temperature also increases. And they award another mark for saying what was causing that. Or you could have said that yes, the carbon dioxide levels increases, but the temperature fluctuates, and therefore this could not be caused by human activity. Okay, so you should now be able to explain why the Earth's atmosphere is still changing, both human and natural causes. That's the end of this lesson. Complete your learning journal to think about what questions do you still have from this video and what were the key learning points.